Welcome to beautiful France. In this video, I'm going to be investigating Ozone's research and development facility in Bar-sur-Loup, France. In the next episode, we're going all the way to Vietnam to investigate their production facility. But in this video, I'm hoping to gain insights about their CAD modeling, their material choice, their testing, their certification process, and how they go from an idea of a glider to an actual glider. And as always, if you have any interest in purchasing Ozone products and you're located in the US, be sure to hit me up. My website's linked in the description, or email me info@tuckergott.com, and I'd be very happy to help you with any Ozone products, especially with all the newfound knowledge I'm going to gain in this video. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are at the Ozone Research and Development Facility. To get the video started, we're just going to do a quick walkthrough, show you guys what this place looks like. Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is where we have our lunch.
Beautiful. You got all the trophies up on the wall?
We got a few of Ono's trophies on the walls, yeah. Kitchen, toilets, everything down here. Most of the action happens...
That's where the magic happens?
Upstairs.
Let's go up there.
So please excuse the mess. We're super busy, so everyone's working really hard and becomes a bit of a mess. So this is the R&D team.
I'm David Dago, and I work as a designer for Ozone.
Hello, I'm Russell Ogden. I work as a test pilot.
Hello, I'm Luc. I'm here trying my best to develop the products.
Hello, I'm Emilia Plak. I am Ozone Power Manager.
Hello, I'm Fred Pierry, a multi-role engineer.
Hello, I'm Baptiste, a designer for Ozone for harnesses.
Hi, I'm Cam. I'm working as a harness designer and an R&D.
My name is Luca. I'm working on the design of the wings.
My name is Isabelle and I work on administration.
I am Karine Marconi and I'm looking at the accounts.
Hello, my name is Xavier and I look after account.
This is an area that we use to make modifications on our wings and our harnesses.
Sweet. Got some sewing supplies and...
Yeah, we've got very big, strong sewing machine for harnesses and then smaller ones for making lines and adjusting wings and the like. In here, this is where we have a space to work on the wings.
Hang test system for harnesses?
Yeah, we've got a couple of systems to hang our harnesses. It's very useful for the harness designers to have direct access all the time. And upstairs is where the management happens. Office spaces, all the admin, all the stuff that goes behind running a company like Ozone.
Well, appreciate the tour. I think we're gonna sit down and talk about some history now.
Cool.
So Ozone has a pretty rich history. It's been around for a while. Can you take me back in time and kind of tell me how the company started?
It's all started in 1998 with 4 people, which were David Pilkington, Mike Kavanagh, Rob Whittle, and Bruce Goldsmith.
Awesome. And why this location?
Because obviously we have a nice little site to fly and we have good conditions to test. It's kind of very reliable, so we have a good, solid statistic of good conditions for testing.
In my understanding, Ozone started out in the paragliding market and then later expanded to paramotors, speed wings, kites and such. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
It's all started with paragliding. And it was back in around 2004, 2005. A young local pilot, which got involved in competition. He got selected in a French team, and he asked us, saying, "You guys, I'm going to the World Championship. Can you make a wing for me?" This is how the first Viper 1, was created.
So with the Viper 1 being the first paramotor wing, obviously Ozone covers everything from beginner wings for people's first flight all the way up to competition level. How did it evolve from the Viper 1 to the entire range today?
So the Viper 1 was our starting block and it gave us a bit of proven performance in the high performance paramotoring competition. But then obviously it was clear that we needed a product range for all levels of pilot. So we took the basic ingredients from the Viper and we brought it down to intermediate wings like the Roadster and the Speedster. But we didn't go so extreme with the heavily reflex profiles because we wanted better slow speed performance, better slow speed safety. And better inflation and so on, and something that was also certifiable to the EN tests.
The Ozone philosophy is something that I've always respected, and now that I'm here, I'm learning more and more about it. Ozone quotes like the true performance.
True performance is a motto that we kind of live by every day, and part of the benefit of flying in this area is that we have good thermic conditions all year round, and so the air's always moving, and we always want a wing that's strong and solid and stable throughout the speed range, so that you can exploit the full speed and performance no matter what the air's doing.
And that's really striking a balance between performance and safety. How do you weigh those two factors?
Well, safety is at the core of everything. You can have as much performance in the world as you want, but if it's unsafe to fly, you can't exploit that performance. So safety is the basis that we start from, and we do a lot of testing and work to ensure that the wings are safe for the target group. And once you've got safety in hand, then the performance can follow.
One of the biggest things I wanted to better understand is how Ozone models their gliders with software. For this, I sat down with Dav to talk about their software as well as some engineering concepts behind the gliders. By the way, each of these interviews have been shortened, so if you want to see the full-length interview, I'm going to be posting all of those over on my second channel. Okay, so we're taking a look at the very conception beginning of glider design. From my understanding, you were saying this is a proprietary program that Ozone uses?
Yeah. Ozone CAD is our program to design wings, and it's been a choice from day one to have our own application.
So obviously this program can do the physical designing of the glider. What else can it do as far as modeling?
From all the data we have into there, we have some kind of math, some formula. We can extract the performance. So we have polar curve, so we can compare from one model to another. Very important, we have something which is looking at all the data in terms of the tension, so line angles, the structure, the curve of the wing, and that gives you an idea of what is the tension across the span, because that is a recipe you want to achieve. Another part of the tension, we're going to talk about tension a lot, is shaping, ballooning. We shape panels, and again, this has an effect on the tension. And the design program, we have basically, if you follow now from the first thing to the last in order, you start with the choice of a profile, tab positioning, opening positioning, the tabs type, the holes to be able to save weight, shaping. So I was talking previously, so the ballooning shaping. So we define there the parameters. We have diagonal. We choose the shape, the position, several aspects. Tension straps, mini ribs, in the case of this model. Winglets, when there is a need of winglet. And at the end, the lines, so you place the lines and then you choose the material and the length here to be able to achieve the right angles, as described earlier, with the tension you want. And at the end, what's hard in our job is every single parameter you change is in fact actually interfering with the rest of the other parameters. Right. So I have this giant table with all these buttons to move, and once you've moved one to achieve something, it's going to affect all the rest. Mm-hmm. And this is the tricky part of the job, to be able to find this compromise and play with all the buttons to achieve what we want in the product.
Everyone always says, why don't you add tent poles or inflatable bladders or some rigid structure into a wing? I know if that was possible to make wings not collapse, we would have done it a long time ago. But why would you not make that design choice?
It's a good question. Well, the first thing you could argue, what is paragliding? We've asked these questions. We like the fact that it fits in the bag, and just throw it on the ground and then off you go in 30 seconds. And so if you start to have things to inflate or rigidification, it doesn't fit anymore. You need a 2 meters bag is a hang glider, or if you need pumping because it's kind of not the same sport. If you go on the technical side, mixing the soft and the hard is not so good. No, experience shows that it's on paper it sounds good, it looks good. In reality, it's not so good. It doesn't mix very well.
Yeah, my expectation would be if you could make a completely rigid wing, a collapse would be far more dramatic and the whole glider would frontal, right?
Far more dramatic.
Yeah, like the physics wouldn't work, right?
Exactly. So that's why it doesn't mean that there could be solutions found in the future, but as things stand with rigid part in the soft sail, it's not mixing well. When things go wrong, they go horribly wrong. Yeah.
Next, I wanted to dive into some specific glider features like winglets and shark nose. For this, I sat down with Luke. All right, so I want to talk about winglets a little bit. Obviously, Ozone started using them more in recent history, and in the US at least, there's a lot of skepticism of if they actually work. So much so that I went out and did my own little testing. I taped my winglets down and tried to see if I felt a difference, but I wanted to see where the design came from and what it's actually doing in terms of performance.
The winglet were existing before we used it. It was common usage by the brand Advance. The good thing with winglet is, for us, the way we use it, is that it allows to put bigger arcs. The downside of this big arc is spiral stability, and also the roll stability is getting damaged. But there are some very good side of the high arc. The good side is agility, it's also safety. Structurally, it's also making everything more tension and nicer. So here we have a Paraglider. It's a Delta 5, so it's a quite short winglet. It's a resale winglet.
And it looks like it's kind of high up on the span. Is there any trade-off to where you put it?
Yeah, it's an important choice because here we have better pressure. On this rib we have some things that reduce the pressure on the wingtip, and we have better pressure here, I mean the air pressure.
Right.
And so on this place the winglet stays stronger.
So let's talk about shark nose a little bit. That's a big Ozone design element. What's the history of shark nose?
Shark nose comes back in 2010, end of 2010, while developing competition wings. We were struggling with compromising top speed pressure and low speed ability. We can put the opening on the profile very much forward on the classic profile. And then we have very nice pressure at high speed. But then we're losing ability, we're losing quality of flying at low speed. We can't go as deep in the brake and slow down so much the wings. So that's a leading edge. And usually we had the opening somewhere here. Now we could bring the opening very far back, still have good pressure at high speed. And at very low speed, and we're talking like 20-degree angle of attack, still very good pressure, and the leading edge is intact, not damaged by the opening, and they can do a good job even in high angle of attack.
As we dove deeper into these concepts, I realized that reflex wasn't something I even fully understood. To gain a better understanding, I sat down with Dav once again. So reflex is a big buzzword in paramotoring, but I think it's often misunderstood. Can you kind of explain what reflex means?
So reflex is a big word, but it's actually a physical thing. There's nothing such as like there is reflex or there isn't reflex. It's basically the coefficient of moment. It's a physical thing. It's basically like a hand that would be pulling your profile upwards in any situation. So imagine that point is the aerodynamical center, and the force resulting will be in front of that point and obviously make the profile tilt always this way.
And the practical application is basically if you were to encounter a collapse, the reflex, the pulling force is what's going to create a positive angle of attack again versus creating an unstable profile that would continue to collapse, right?
Exactly. Imagine you're flying and then you suddenly have like a turbulence. You hit a turbulence, the profile is obviously going down, your lines are getting slack, the profile is going to fly itself. But thanks of the reflex and the force is very far forward, the reflex profile will by itself kind of want to lift up and kind of poof, recover and go back in tension and fly.
A lot of people think that as you accelerate and gain speed, you're increasing the amount of reflex, but the way Ozone applies reflex is it's always constant, right?
Yeah, we've decided from day one at Ozone that it doesn't matter how you apply the trimmers or the speed system, the amount of reflex in our wings will always be the same. The profile is not deformed. You can see that this is the center line, and it helps to see, obviously it's kind of the center line between the two shapes of the upper surface and the bottom surface. And you can see that all the rear is kind of at zero, yeah, and it starts to lift above. So the center, aerodynamical center is at 25%, so about here, yeah. So the reflex is this force that will be kind of like in front of this part. A free-flying profile, you see the center line is higher further back.
Normally it seems like paragliding technology carries over into paramotor technology. Is this a case where almost paramotor technology is pushing paragliding technology?
Exactly.
Next up, Dav explained to me some of the material choices between different types of fabric and lines and why they might choose some over the others. All right, so we're talking materials. Can you tell me a little bit about the different lines and different fabric choices you have?
Sure, we, in the paragliding industry, paramotoring and paragliding is the same. We have been using aramid and Dynama, and either sheaved or unsheaved. And in paramotoring, we try to avoid using Dynama because Dynama has a melting temperature which is lower, so there is a risk of melting it on the engine, which you want to avoid. So here's the Dynama. I'll show you illustrate the melting point of the Dynama. If I pull, it's cut. If you do the same with the aramid, wow. See, it gets brown, okay. But it takes a lot longer to go. The choice then after is, do you use sheave lines or unsheaved lines? Obviously, when you have sheaved, there is obviously more material to protect the core. The downside of the sheave version is the fact that it's thicker. So you tend to use unsheaved lines on the wings that are kind of like high efficiency type, such as Viper.
So what about in terms of fabric choices and weights?
Fabric choice, it's nylon 6/6, which is kind of a high tenacity nylon, but it's got a ripstop construction, which obviously helps for the strength. It's got cutting to prevent, obviously, or to help the porosity, to make it obviously airtight as much as possible. And so the only difference is the choice of the weight. There are two ways to reduce weight. The manufacturer, the cloth manufacturer, will either take a different fiber, like I would say a 40-gram cloth, which is the classic weight you have on the standard wing. And when you go on the lighter cloth, you start to go down like in 20 denier or 10 denier. And they can also modulate, you can tell from between this one and this one, the size of the ripstop. Right. You can see that the ripstop is tighter here than here. It's wider, so obviously you save weight by having a kind of a bigger square, basically. Yeah.
So obviously there's, like the Spider uses lightweight, the Roadster uses more normal weight. Yeah. And the big difference you see is in inflation and the takeoff element in zero wind. Do you notice any other flight characteristics change when you change the weight of the material?
No, it's basically what you felt. It's just, if we had to recommend something, if there was no consideration of cost and eventually aging a little bit, we would try to push everyone to go for the lightweight sail because it's so much better. There are absolutely no downside of having a lighter wing. Inflating better, flying more, it's more agile. It's just all around a better wing.
What about in terms of quality control? Do you test, like when you get a new batch of fabric or lines, do you test those?
Yes, very true. We do at the start and the end. So when we get a new batch of cloth or lines, it's being checked by the people in Vietnam because we are, I would think that we are probably the most painful customer from the suppliers because we check everything. We are really, really hard. We take usually only the A grade. We take the best from the best.
speaking of testing and quality control, I got a really cool opportunity to see how Ozone tests some of the products they make, as well as the materials that get imported. All right, so we're down here in the lab where we do some testing and braking stuff. What kind of stuff do you actually get to test and break down here?
Here we break some harness, riser, spreaders, line, everything that we want to assess if it's strong enough and if it's reliable enough to go in a product.
Sweet. And first up, we have a riser.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about what is going to be the weakest link in terms of a glider? The fabric, the lines, the riser? Which one's going to break first?
The first will be the riser line. That's most of the time the weakest point on all the chain.
Well, what do you say? Do you want to break it?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
500, 1 ton. So 1.5 ton for one size riser.
So is that where you would expect it to break?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the failure point?
That's the end of the stitching is most of the time. In fact, no, it's not most of the time. It should be the weakest point.
So next up, Fred loaded a harness into the machine. Now in harnesses, there's a number of different testing procedures that have to be passed. For this one, we decided to do the most basic, but also the most dramatic. Just a symmetrical pull until the harness failed. All right, so this test, normally they'd stop at 15 Gs and it would survive, but we're just gonna pull it until it breaks, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. Here we go.
So that's the classic flight position.
So it's stretching.
Yeah, stretching a lot.
Oh, this is terrifying. So we're coming up on 15. That's 15 right there. Oh, Lord.
3 tons.
That is a terrible sound. Yeah, that was awesome.
So 3.5 ton.
That completely...
Twice as forecasted.
You would have been dead way before that harness broke.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's insane. You would be a puddle.
So it was the assembly of this part on this side which broke. So it was the assembly of the shoulder strap with the coastal strap.
And all this stitching is...
And all the stitching when being unstitched and unrolled until it break.
So now we're going to break the other side as an asymmetric load. Obviously it's already been stretched once, but we would expect it to break way lower because it's cross-loading this time, right?
Exactly, that's a symmetric load, yeah.
Sweet. 800, 900, 1,000. Keep it going. Oh, it's just yanking it apart. Okay, that's legitimate failure. He's out of the harness. All right, so here we have the wind tunnel where they can test scaled down models of paragliding harnesses, as well as things like line drag, and also some secret projects that I can't really talk about. This is trim speed right here. All right, so these are all scale models for the submarine harness to go in the wind tunnel. About how long did you guys work on this?
It took several years.
From what I understand, you did these tests in the wind tunnel, but you also 3D modeled them on a computer?
Yeah, we try also to have some simulation, to have a theoretical approach and more practical approach, and we validate one with the other one.
All right, so we have a harness drop test going on. Tell me what's going on with this thing.
Yeah, so this machine is there to test the absorption of the impact pad. So we drop at a certain height, 1.65 meter, and that gives an energy, and we have to absorb it with the less deceleration for the spine of the pilots. Inside, we have an accelerometer, which is recorded. We will analyze the data later.
Cool.
But let's just record it.
Can I drop it?
Yeah.
All right, in 3, 2, 1. Damn. So that'd be survivable?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we've moved rooms, we're upstairs, and we have this machine here that's a line stretching, breaking, fabric stretching thing. What do you use this for?
This one is still a tensile machine like the one below. but more precise. More precise, we can pilot it in force, in distance, we can make it cycling.
And so for this test, you have a brand new line set up, and then we also have one that's all frayed and aged.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see the difference?
Yeah.
That's all stretch. Woo! So what did it break at?
Now 67.8 for an original of 70 kilo line.
All right, so 67.8, and this line is very obviously frayed. If you were flying something, that would be kind of alarming that
Oh yeah.
you
That's
shouldn't.
way too much.
That should be checked on. So let's see where that breaks at. There's so much stretch before it goes.
It broke at 40, a bit below 40, 38.
So a little more than half. So now we're testing some fabric, and this is going to be an extra aged, this is a moderately aged, and then we have some brand new, correct? So we're going to see what the breaking strength of all these different samples are going to be. Ooh, looking for more than 20.5. Ooh, that was dramatic.
So 40.
44?
Yeah, 45.9, no? Yeah, 45. 44.8 exactly.
So exactly as we expected.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk all about inspections, and I think it's safe to say most people, at least in the US, are not keeping up with their inspections. What do you guys recommend for intervals for inspections?
So yeah, for soloing, we recommend every 2 years or 150 hours. And for tandem, it's every year or 150 hours as well.
A question I get asked very often is how long does a glider last? And I think it's a pretty broad question because I'm sure it depends on how you treat it. Do you have an answer to how long you would expect, maybe from best case to worst case scenario?
I have a quiz for you on this one. I have 2 line sets, age, flown. One is 200, one is 600. Which one is what?
I would immediately assume that this is flown a lot more. This would be 600 and this would be 200 because that looks brand new to me.
Without surprise, it was a trap. This one is a 200 and this one is 600.
That's crazy.
This one has a very good pilot care.
So obviously it depends a lot on how you treat the glider.
Exactly.
What factors determine those types of things? What's most important in treating your glider right?
What they don't like, cloth don't like humidity and heat. So making a flight on the morning when the grass is wet, pack it in the car and leave it on the car under the sun, you destroy the glider in 1 day. The lines are more subject to abrasion, friction, and dragging the line on the takeoff. All of the material are sensible to UV. Even if it's wet, because you flew in wet grass, or don't leave it on the sun, let it dry on the shadow.
So there was a YouTube comment that I laughed at because someone asked if they've ever made a glider out of bed sheets. And this is not technically bed sheets, but this is an extreme example of a very porous fabric that you did a study on, right?
Exactly. We make a good investigation on the influence of the porosity. And so we make several prototypes with different level of porosity.
And then you just flip this?
Yeah.
0.7. 0.8. Very, very porous. So just for comparison, this is a piece of brand new fabric, and we're gonna do the porosity test on that and see how many seconds this takes. All right. Wow. That's actually insane. He wasn't kidding. It's gonna actually go forever. This will be like minutes. We're at 40 seconds. And it's barely moved. And what characteristics did you feel on something like this that was that porous?
It was a brake range, which was shorter.
Was there any difference in inflation characteristics?
No.
Interesting.
No.
So really the point of this study was that porosity doesn't matter as much as we thought.
Yeah. Clearly more important for safety is tear strength. So we will place a needle in a corner and we will place another needle 5 centimeters the part. Yeah, also in the corner. And we will pull up to 600 grams. Then no damage on both sides. There is squares, so that's the ripstop, and what it's the force to pass the ripstop. It's not to break inside a square, it's to pass the ripstop. So this one did not pass the ripstop at all.
Next up, I sat down with Russell to learn a little bit about the customization options that Ozone offers.
So Ozone has been super kind to send me home with a brand new Freeride 2, which is like my favorite wing ever. And I'm doing custom colors and a custom logo, which is something pretty unique that Ozone offers. So we're getting a behind the scenes look at how they actually do the custom color and logo options.
Yeah, we made quite a few logo wings that our factory's set up really well to do lots of customizations, so we can customize top surface, lower surface colors, and we can add logos to wings, and these can be sewn into place or stuck on or printed in very complex artwork.
So in about a week's time, when I end up in Vietnam, we're actually going to be seeing this logo get cut out, and then in a few weeks after that, I'll have this brand new glider back at home in Arizona.
Next up, we went for a short drive to one of the beautiful flying sites Ozone has right in their backyard. I met up with Russell, who is the head test pilot, to learn a little bit about the testing process they use for new gliders, as well as certifications.
All right, so obviously we're up here at the launch, which is amazing because we're overlooking the facility down below. When you get a new prototype glider from Ozone, you come out here, you test it. What kinds of things are you testing, and what are you actually looking for?
Well, there's various things, but first off, we will fly it immediately from the factory. And the first major thing that we look for is the structure of the wing. Is if there's any major creases or anything obviously wrong with the lines.
If that all looks good, then do you start doing like maneuverability and collapse testing?
Yep. We'll go straight into collapse testing. We will try to reproduce the EN size collapses and check for behavior. Sometimes, depending on the wing, if it's a higher performance wing, we'll start off quite small and gentle just to check that everything's not too dangerous. And once we're happy with those collapses, then we'll go bigger into the EN size collapses.
How about motor gliders specifically? Like obviously they're not really designed for this environment, but this is how you're testing them.
They work perfectly in this environment. Sweet. You know, we especially in the summers, we get very strong conditions here, southern Alp conditions, where we have strong winds, strong thermals, and relatively high levels of turbulence. So it's perfect for testing the solidity and the natural structure of paramotor wings. Awesome. And once we've done those preliminary checks, we then send the wing to ME, or we send it to Alex Matios, who then tests it under power to check that it's functioning correctly under power. And once they've done their checks and their small tweaks to get it exactly how they want it, we then get the wing back and fully prepare it for EN, if it's one of the wings that we certify EN.
So when you have a prototype and you're out in the field testing, what kind of tweaks would you make physically to the glider to try to change the handling?
There's several different ways. There's never just one recipe for every single wing. It will be a combination of twisting the wing, so we can add loops, for example, closer to the wingtips or to group 2 of the line layout, to try and speed up the wingtips. As a general rule, a wing with fast wingtips handles well, but the compromise of that is it makes side collapse more aggressive, it makes the wingtips weaker, so we're constantly compromising.
So I think in the US especially, not a lot of people really understand the certification processes of DJAC and EN testing. What do those mean and what actually goes into them?
So the EN testing is the basic paragliding testing, which has been with us now for 20 years or so. It consists of 24 different tests, and the glider is tested through collapses, stalls, spins, the full spectrum of current flight testing. It also involves a structural load test, both a shock test and also a sustained load test where it's dragged behind a truck and really taken to its maximum load that it can achieve. So that coupled with the flight test is quite a complete test of not safety but behaviour. The DJC is a recognition. It's not actually a certification, it's a recognition of type. The DJC is the governing body in France for all microlight aircraft. So they have their own requirements which are fulfilled by declarations from the manufacturer. So as long as we conform to their requirements, we get DJC approval, but it's not actually a certification per se.
So I think one thing a lot of people don't understand on something like the Roadster, for example, it's certified in just the paragliding weight range. Can you expand on some of the other factors that paramotor pilot, it takes it out of that range, but it's still good to have it certified in the paragliding range?
Yeah, we like to keep, especially our lower aspect ratio paramotor wings certified within the EN scheme. At the moment, there is no real flight test procedure for paramotors. What we try to do is, especially for our beginner wings or our lower aspect ratio wings, is really concentrate on the safety, concentrate on the collapse recovery, high angle recovery maneuvers, and have that justified by a third party, which is the EN. So although it's not a full and complete certification, it's the closest we can get to for this type of wing. And when it comes to higher performance, higher aspect ratio, because of the limitations of the profile, you know, what's really good for paramotoring is reflex profiles, which are solid, they're sound, and they can cut through turbulence without too much active piloting and maintaining a good speed. All of those benefits make it much harder to certify. Right. Just because of the nature of the profile, which is why we don't use those types of profiles in normal paragliders.
Mm-hmm. So up next, Russell took me on a tandem flight to demonstrate some of the testing that they would do on a prototype glider. First off, I have to say this launch was absolutely beautiful. We got a wonderful flight with plenty of lift, and we got to fly through some beautiful clouds. For testing like this, they add extensions to both the brakes and the A's on the glider. This allows you to apply extra force on the A's while simultaneously not engaging the brakes. What I found really interesting was the reference markers that they use on the actual bottom surface of the glider. Not only do they show the minimum and maximum amount of collapse percentage of the wing, they also show the collapse angle that they're aiming for. To start out, we did a few asymmetric collapses, and Russell had me assist by pulling the extension on the A's.
Wait for me, we'll do it on 3 together, okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
1, 2, and 3. Good. Yeah, yep. Lovely. Right, we just need to go, didn't quite hit the mark. So the aim, so you can see the markings. We've got 2 markings on the left. The one closest to the middle is the minimum mark, and the one in the yellow is the maximum mark. Okay. Our aim is to really hit the minimum mark with a nice kink angle. So that one was a little bit small and a little bit flat. Okay.
So what do we need to improve it?
So what we're going to do this time is just a little bit more oomph.
More oomph?
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it better this time.
Right, you ready?
Yep.
Steady, go. Better. Really nice. Oh, got an outside collapse. This is full speed collapsing, remember?
Yep.
With the trimmers in the full fast position. 1, 2, and 3. Nice. A little bit short of that one. But that was my fault, not your fault.
And the outside stayed intact that time.
Yeah, because we didn't quite get the proportion and kink angle. Right, let's do a frontal.
All right, so you want both of them?
Both of them. Take a wrap I'm gonna have to be ready because it might stall on me. Right. You ready? We're gonna pull down hard together. Ready?
Tell me when.
1, 2, 3. Good. Oh, that was boring.
No stall or anything?
No stall.
Boring.
Boring. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Good. Oh, here we go, it's stalling. And then recovers. So that's just a short phase of parachutal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you're doing that, are you trying to really let the glider do?
I'm trying to do, I will only intervene if I have to.
Right, you're just letting it fly.
If it's going to fail a test, I'll intervene.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm watching.
Yep.
And the trick is to know when to intervene and when not. Let's do a parachutal stall.
All right.
Right, so there we are in parachutal. That's nice. Let it fly. Whoa. See how that right tip is a bit slow?
Yeah, a little asymmetric.
When I put my hand up, he was a little bit slow to refly. Let's do a spiral.
Is there anything you're looking for in the spiral?
Well, that it exits.
Just by itself?
Yeah, it's got to exit on its own.
Yeah. Is there amount of rotation?
Yeah, so it wasn't exactly an Ian spiral test there because I meant to hold it for one extra turn. And then when you release in one turn. You don't just put your hand up.
Yeah.
You have to release in 1 360, so the movement is like that.
Okay, so smooth release.
A really smooth, slow release.
I want to give a huge thank you to Ozone for making this video possible. I just got back from Vietnam and that tour of the factory was pretty mind-blowing. I'm working on that video now. I'm super excited to share that one, so make sure you stay tuned. If you've watched the video till now, we have a pretty cool little giveaway opportunity. While I was at the research and development facility in France, we grabbed a wooden propeller and had everyone on the research and development team sign the propeller. So all you have to do to get entered to win is comment down below something including the word propeller. And by next week, I'll just pick one random person and I'm gonna send you this sweet 1-of-1 signed propeller. And finally, as you guys know, if you're in the market for an Ozone wing, whether it's your first wing or your forever wing, hit me up, info@tuckergott.com, and I'd be happy to help you. I've always loved this company and their product, and going to their various facilities has only reinforced why I love their product so much. That's all I've got for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Till the next one, have fun, fly safe, peace.